This is a database activity. We're not going to use Access Database, but we're going to pretend to look at it. And the goal here is just for you to feel comfortable looking around in a database so you can understand and read it more than creating one. I will say though that I have a set of, 15 actually, Access videos that I've made. They're on YouTube there, and they're not instructional, they're theory to help you understand what's going on. So you can look at some of those if you'd like. They're all short. This then is a table of contents to this rather large document in case you want to find some individual piece of it later. You would, it's 2 clicks. You click to select the item and then you make the second click and you'll go down inside. Data is organized in a hierarchy. This picture may or may not be in your current book, but this is the way people who understand databases look at it. The smallest individual unit of measure is a bit, a binary digit, and then it goes to character, which is multiple bits makes a byte, and then a field, which is multiple characters related to form of like first name, last name, city, states, something like that. A record is multiple related fields that make up an example of one of those things. One student, one toy, one book, one automobile. Whereas in an automobile, you'd have a VIN number and then a brand, model. I'm not very good at this, and so on, characteristics of it. And then going up to broader, 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 that's how we're going down to the base of our pyramid. A file is multiple related records combined. In other words, that's a table, what we call a table in Access. And finally, most databases actually have multiple tables or files in them. So all of this stuff together makes a database. A big unit of information collection, but made up in a hierarchy. If you understand that, it will help you understand how the different objects in a database are set up. This is specifically Access. There may be some variations, but if you understand this part, you'll have a great start. The root of the database is the table. The table is the holder of the data. It is a table of students, a table of teachers, a table of automobiles. Whatever the thing is, the noun that you're collecting, that is the holder of the data for it. And it looks like an Excel spreadsheet actually. A couple of differences, but that's what it looks like. A query, well, let's skip. A form is a way to look at the table data on the screen. Now that's going to be one of the questions you'll have to answer. Forms are made for screens, like when you go to the doctor's office, whereas a report is intended to be printed on paper. But they're just ways of looking at the information, the data in the table. And then sometimes, most of the time, you really don't want to see all 50,000 students who've ever attended MOT. You just want to see some of them. So a query, look how to say it, query, which is part of British English. The query is a way to ask a question to the database to get just the information you want. We'll use some of those when we do the 153 class, actually. Let's go down and look at the relationships between tables and entities. If you're looking at this next year, I'm not going to make a new video, but the page numbers will be different. When you want to have students versus teachers versus classes versus textbooks, each one will have its own table, or here, let me scroll up, table or file, or another word is entity. Too many terms. But each noun has its own table, and then the tables are linked together. So one student in elementary school has one teacher, but one student in college has many teachers. There are different kinds of relationships, but you have to connect them. The primary key in a table is that one field that uniquely identifies each row or record. A social security number uniquely identifies each and every individual in the United States, minus the fraudulent ones, of course. A foreign key is in another table. So if you have a student table with a primary key, you can have a teacher table. Then it has a primary key of the teacher's ID number. And in the student table, you can refer to who the teacher is by using a foreign key. So it's a field that goes in this table that refers to the primary key from another table. And that's the way you link them together. There's some more explanation you can read. There are several different kinds of relationships, and when you take a database class, you'll learn about those. In the meantime, we're just going to say that one student has many teachers. And then it's really important in lots of the software programs, but especially in Access, there are different views of an object. These are all objects, okay? You know how in a Word you have multiple pages, and in PowerPoint you have multiple slides, and in Excel you have multiple worksheets. So in Access you have multiple objects, okay? So in each object there are different ways of looking at it, like frontwards, backwards, inside out. And each view has a certain meaning. So I'm going to pause, stop this one because it's 7 minutes, that's enough, and then we'll start a new video with the next part of the class.